All right, this is how to teach vocabulary in biology, and this presentation is done by me, Mr. Mize. Today we're going to be going over the use of Freyer models as a literacy strategy for biology. So some basic information. The content area I'm going to be teaching this is biology. The grade level is 9th grade, and the lesson topic is evolution through natural selection. The state standard that this follows is 9 through 12.ls4.b.1. So my rationale behind this. The point of my literacy strategy is to show students how to use Freyer models to learn vocabulary terms for biology. The concept I'm going to be using today is natural selection. How it fits into my lesson. Freyer models are very efficient for teaching students biology, since the subject often revolves around understanding vocabulary terms. The Freyer model is a great first step to teach students vocabulary terms and reinforce them as well. How it fits into my mini lesson. It fits into my mini lesson since I am modeling the concept of natural selection. So how will students benefit from my instruction? Students will benefit from my instruction by being able to complete Freyer models on their own by using critical thinking skills about prior concepts taught to them and learning how to research vocabulary terms. All right, so this right here is the Freyer model. In the top left, you'll see the definition. In the right, you'll see the facts and or characteristics. The bottom left is examples, and the bottom right is non-examples. And right here in the middle, you have the concept, which is natural selection. So we'll start this off first by inserting a text box under definition and inserting a bullet point. All right, so the definition of natural selection is the process by which organisms with traits better suited to their environment are more likely to reproduce. All right, so we have our definition done, so we'll move on to our facts and characteristics. So I'm going to insert another text box with bullet points. All right, so one fact is that it involves variation in a population. Another is that it leads to differential survival and reproduction due to competition. And another is that it occurs over many generations. And lastly, another one is that it is influenced by environmental factors. All right, so now we have our facts and characteristics done. So we'll move on to examples. So I will insert another text box with bullet points. Right, and some examples. So one is just that bacteria is becoming resistant to antibiotics. Another one would be chameleons changing color to blend in with their environment. And then the last one would just be giraffes being naturally selected to have longer necks in order to reach higher foliage. All right, so now that we have all of our examples done, we'll move over to the non-examples. So I'll insert another text box with bullet points. All right, and some non-examples. So individual organisms evolving during their lifetime. So that would be a non-example because individual organisms don't evolve. Evolving is done through populations from adaptations over time. Another example would just be random changes or mutations that do not affect their survival. And then the last one will just be traits changing because an organism wants to adapt. All right. And this is what a completed Freire model would look like. The main literacy strategy behind using Freire models is to help students learn and reinforce what they are learning in class. So as you see, I filled out the definitions completely, the facts and characteristics, some examples, and non-examples to help reinforce their ability to learn natural selection as a concept. So now we're going to move on to the guided one. So I have my student here, and her name is Jaden, and she's going to be helping me answer some questions for this one. So I'm going to insert my first text box here and bullet point. And so, Jaden, what is the definition of an adaptation?
A trait that helps an organism survive in its environment.
Great job. So yes, it is a trait that helps an organism survive in its environment. All right, so we have completed the definition. So we're going to move on to the facts and characteristics. All right, so what is one fact?
They are inherited traits.
Great, so yes, they are inherited traits. What's another one?
They increase survival or reproduction.
Yep, so yeah, they increase survival or reproduction. What about one more?
They develop over generations.
Great, so yes, they develop over generations. All right, so now we're going to move on to some examples. Insert another text box. Bullet points. All right, so what is an example of an adaptation?
Polar bears have thick fur and fat deposits to protect themselves.
Yes, so that is true. So yes, polar bears have thick fur and fat deposits to protect themselves from the harsh environment that they live in. What's one more?
Rattlesnakes have a rattle at the end of their tail to warn possible threats that they are venomous.
Yes, great job. So yes, rattlesnakes have a rattle at the end of their tail to warn possible threats that they are venomous. All right, so great job. We have all of our examples completed. So lastly, we just need some non-examples. Get my word with bullet points. All right, so what is one non-example?
When somebody gets a tan, it's a temporary change.
Yeah, so yeah, temporary change like getting a tan. What about one more?
Learned behavior.
Yeah, great. A learned behavior. All right. So sorry for that cut there, guys. I ran out of time on the recording software that I'm using. But just to wrap this up, this is just the guided version of using a Freire model. I had my student answer my questions for the definition, the facts and characteristics, and examples and non-examples, just like I did in the earlier one. So that completed this section of the I do, we do, you do for the we do part. And to wrap this up, so for this last Freire model, for the you do part of my modeling, I would just have students complete this by either researching what a mutation is, using the internet or the textbooks to find the definition, with 3 facts or characteristics, 3 examples, and 2 non-examples. I provide my students with a blank piece of paper, a pencil or pen, and a laptop or their textbook as the materials for this independent activity. Giving them a blank piece of paper instead of a printed out Freire model also helps show them that they can create this themselves anytime as a study tool or for helping them reinforce other concepts that they are learning. So, how would I assess and evaluate this strategy? This strategy could be used as a standalone assignment. So, using a Freire model helps students learn how to research a new concept or reinforce their knowledge on old concepts. They're not just beneficial for instruction, and students can create them anytime to help learn or reinforce concepts. Teaching the skill early can also help them use it in other classes, since it does not just apply to learning vocabulary in biology. It could be a part of a larger assignment as well, since I'd be able to have students choose from a list of vocabulary terms and have them create a Freire model on a large poster board and do a short presentation on their vocabulary term. I could also insert a Freire model in a test with the definition filled in and have students insert facts or characteristics, examples and non-examples. And how would I determine if the strategy was effective in my lesson? For this last question, I would just simply have my students work independently on the last Freire model based on the vocabulary term mutation and see if they have any problems doing that. I feel like Freire models are very straightforward, but if students are still struggling, I would just go back a step and guide them through it again before letting them work independently on it. The way I would assess and evaluate my students on this is by giving them their own Freire models with the vocabulary term I selected and have them complete one to make sure that they understand how to use this as a literacy strategy and as a way to help learn or reinforce the content they're using in other classes, not just my own. All right, so this will conclude my literacy strategy presentation on Freire models. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to my special guest, my student Jaden, for appearing on here. Say thank you.
Thank you for watching.
All right, thank you.